We classify films
Listening to truth or...
and we classify video games.
Comes out, but it's first blood. Over to...
But should we have an age classification system for books?
I definitely agree with that. I know my little sister, she was reading some books that she shouldn't have been.
Hard ratings, like you can't read this until you're X age. I think that that's limiting the people being able to share ideas with each other.
Each book is different, the way it's written is different, so the way the themes are presented are different as well. So I think it's a bit nuanced, it's a bit hard to make a definitive classification.
We have the young adult section, things like that. That's a great example that I think works well.
On the other side, sometimes people are reading books that they probably shouldn't be reading just for like their health and well-being.
It's really important not to sanitize what we're going to be reading. It's just about increasing that awareness so that we can all be emotionally safe.
With the rise of BookTok, BookTube and Bookstagram, some experts like Dr. Emma Hussey from the Australian Catholic University are calling for an industry-wide book classification system. Dr. Hussey's research looked at 20 books that are popular on BookTok, analysing them for domestic violence behaviours, other violence including torture, murder and destruction of property, and sexually explicit scenes.
Of those books, 65% of them had these domestic violence adjacent behaviours on the page. So it really is about don't judge a book by its cover. There are cartoons on the front, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be developmentally appropriate for a 12 to 17-year-old.
Dr. Hussey says part of the problem is the algorithm on these platforms is often based off popularity rather than readers' safety. So sometimes adult fiction might be pushed towards young adult or YA readers. Young adult fiction is a category of its own in publishing. It's generally aimed at readers between the ages of 12 and 18 and focuses on the stuff many teenagers are going through, like themes around identity, self-discovery, relationships and the transition into adulthood. YA also has subcategories within it, with lower young adult from 12 to 14 years old, which might include texts like the early Harry Potter books, and upper young adult, which includes books like Wicked and The Fault in Our Stars.
I know that there's a system that authors use to know whether their books are marketed to a younger young adult audience or an older young adult audience. That's not made explicit or clear in bookstores or libraries.
In bookstores, do you find it easy to differentiate between young adult fiction and adult fiction?
I do, but I'm in there all the time.
Okay. So our YA collection is independent of the rest of our collection, so it's a standalone.
I paid a visit to a bookstore in Adelaide to chat with Tracy, who's worked in the area of children and young adult literature for decades.
I think within the bookshop we have a fairly clear boundary just by geographically where the books are. So I think there's a fairly clear delineation there about where our young adult sits against where our adults sit.
Tracy says she has noticed a shift in the reading habits of young people since the rise of social media.
And the local students from the local schools, often when they come in with a specific request, so it might be something they've talked about or someone's mentioned at school. It might be something that's very current on Netflix or TikTok.
She also says that this bookshop, like many, has age recommendations on a lot of their YA fiction. These are based off staff discretion and databases such as Common Sense Media, which are designed with young people's reading and safety in mind.
It's very rare that we have to say to a reader, we're just not sure that that's going to be suitable for your age level, but if we felt strongly enough, we would just give that warning. The 12 to 14-year-olds, we're very mindful with what they choose and what we would recommend for them. Once they hit about 15, then it is their decision. They're probably doing, exposed to a lot of those things already, if not in literature, in often, sadly, what they're watching.
We don't actually have to look too far to see that we have implemented these sorts of classification systems across streaming websites, across movies that you purchase in store. So it's not a new system, it's just about bringing that to this new medium that we've not previously considered before.
If there is classification similar to movies.
Do you see that as being a restriction on sale or borrowing?
What I want to acknowledge is that for me, this is not about banning.
If it was enforced the same way that MA 15 plus is, or something like that, I'm not sure how great of an idea that would be.
Movies is a bit different because because obviously you're watching it play out. Reading, it's your imagination, and you can just close the book if it's too much for you.
I'm against this classification system because it's slapping the classification system of games and movies onto a different medium.
This is Will Kostakis, a young adult fiction author.
The thing about books is you can actually go into the emotions of an action. You'd have a character's thoughts throughout. Right? You would have the character reckoning with consequences afterwards, thinking about it, living in it.
Will says the way we experience books is very different to other forms of media, and he's more concerned that a classification system might lead to wider censorship.
So who would choose? Would it be parents? Would it be politicians? Would it be booksellers? Would it be, publishers? The thing is, publishers and booksellers already choose. And engaged parents already choose. They are talking to their kids. So we already have rules in place to protect kids, but that can be exploited. And so when we talk about classifications, I'm always worried about not just the next step, but the step 4 points down the road where it's like, how can this be exploited? A lot of the authors that I've been talking to and librarians, the big thing they worry about is censorship.
I think it stretches, to a level of potential censorship, whether it be unintentional or not. With films, you have to pay to get it tested and see whether or not it's appropriate or not. So I think for young independent authors, that might stop them from being able to publish their books, which I don't think that's a great thing either.
But when you classify anything into different ages, you are almost saying that some things are inherently inappropriate for kids, which I don't agree is true.
Could this lead to censorship in any way?
So I think what's really important to understand is that censorship is about the denial of access, the stopping of access. This does not push or advocate for the removal of access to content. It's more about giving respect to young adult readers, flagging content that may not be developmentally appropriate for them at that stage, or they may not be ready for.
But is the content in books causing that much harm that we need a new classification system?
So I think it's more about making sure that your young adult readers know what's in that book before they pick it up, and whether it's something that they feel ready to explore.
I think it would be very difficult. I think it's more about educating the reader.
Let's expect more of our readers here. I grew up in the era of Twilight. All the teen girls in my life weren't like, wow, I can't wait for a 108-year-old who's posing as a teenager to sweep me off my feet. They are getting the feels and all of the tropes and being like, cool, this is a bit romantic, this is a bit spicy, but I don't think they're looking at these books as manuals on how to live their romantic lives.
I think also parents need to play a role in that and okay, what are my kids actually reading?
When I was 15, 16, there wasn't any books where I felt like the content would be super different from what you just experience in your daily life. You're becoming an adult, so you should be exposed to everything.